Good evening, students and faculty, and welcome to this episode of Ravenwood, a Monster Hearts 2 story. I am your host, producer, and tonight, your Mistress of Ceremonies, Mistress Winter. I am excited to be running tonight's episode in place of my esteemed friend Abby Marie Carter, who unfortunately could not be here because life got in the way. And so did life get in the way of Juicy's presence as well. So unfortunately, Juicy is not with us either, but that is okay. We shall persevere and still tell a great story. With me tonight is the ever wonderful Alex, who has come back after a very long absence. We're glad to have you back. Why don't you tell us who you are, who you play, and we'll get started there.
All right. Hey everybody, my name is Alex. It's good to be back in this world, back in this story. I'll be playing Damon Fullerton, and this is the same pseudonym that I am under in Mistress Winter's Court, the Discord server, and that is where you can find me.
Wonderful. Simple and easy. And we will have the links for those things right now. Thank you, Alex. Glad to have you back. Stouffer.
Hi, I'm Stouffer. I have been playing Amity, but tonight I will be playing Enmity. And as far as socials go, I'm in Discord servers. You can find me under Stouffer.
I'm sorry, playing who?
Enmity.
Enmity. I love it. Because we did leave Amity off in her darkest self, and I guess that persona has a name. I like that. That is really cool. Enmity.
It'll probably send you some stuff.
Oh no, that is all right. We can totally roll with it. That's all part of the fun. And last but not least, our wonderful Emma.
Hey everybody, it's me, Emma. I'll be playing Mika Sherman, the Infernal, tonight. As far as me, I do have a couple places other than Mistress Winter's Discord that you can find me, as I run the podcast network Tabletop Tailspinners. I'll tell you a little bit more about all the fun projects that we're doing at the end of the stream, but you can find me through our socials there, we are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the fun things.
A hen. All right. Last time on Ravenwood, the students went to check out Damon. He had not been heard from in quite some time. When they arrived at his dorm, they found his sister, Emily, barring the way and insisting that Damon was just fine and was chilling, and they were hanging out. Later, the group got some strange texts from Damon's phone, claiming that he just wanted to hang out with his sister and didn't care about all the strange shit that's going on campus. This set off so many alerts and red flags for our group. But before they could truly investigate, they encountered a frantic Rhapsody who came in raving about some conspiracy involving Dr. Lila, the dean of the school. she seemed pursued, hunted even. And the group gave chase out into the streets beyond the edge of campus, following Rhapsody's flight. But before Rhapsody could reveal too much, the Reaper from before returned and killed the panicked Fae before the group could intervene. But before the Reaper made their escape, the group noticed markings on the Reaper's shoulder that weren't there before. The group decided to dispose of Rhapsody's body, which had turned grayscale as Fae experience fading upon death. Mika caught Bobby up on Reapers, while Amity went back to the dorm, entering into her darkest self, or their darkest self persona, Enmity. Especially after they experience a dead body dropping at their feet, and the sound of a child crying. But before we return to that moment in time, we have some catching up to do with our dear Damon. Damon, several days ago, you had just discovered the body parts in near the dean's office. On your way out of that situation, you were surprised to find that Emily, your sister, was on campus talking to one of the professors. And what little you overheard, it had to do with what could possibly befall a ghost. Now, without further context, this could go plenty of ways. Could be that if you know what can harm you, you know how to protect against it. So there's no real saying what her purpose was there for. As she exited, you met up and were talking when you noticed a feather sticking out of her backpack. That's where we begin.
So, upon seeing the feather, can I try to snatch it out deftly with my deft little fingers?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Do I roll for that, or is that something that happens?
I'm gonna let you do it.
Okay.
However, I would like you to roll me a dark.
Okay. Roll for dark is 6 total.
Okay. You go to pinch, quite literally, the feather. And your vision flashes briefly as the surprise makes you release the feather. For a moment, you were somewhere else. Not physically, but touching it caused a vision to appear and vanish just as quickly. So you didn't get a sense of what the vision was, but it has definitely left you a little shaken, if a ghost can be shaken.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll withdraw my hand. And I'll ask Emily, hey, what is that feather you've got in your backpack?
She visibly tenses. But she tries to play it cool. Oh, just something I found laying around.
Just something you found laying around?
Yeah, it looked like a nice little trinket, so I picked it up.
Okay. I don't know if this would make sense, but it's making me uneasy in a ghostly sense.
Makes you, well, then I'll put it away. She takes off her backpack and quickly puts it into her bag and closes it up. There. No need to worry about it.
Okay. I feel like you're hiding something.
Well, I mean,
you're not like this. Like, come on, I'm your brother.
Well, I just wanted to surprise you here on campus, and well, I don't know. I wanted to be bigger than this, than just us like randomly meeting in the hall. She is clearly searching to hide whatever it is.
Okay. Well, I'll let it go for now, but don't think I'll forget about it.
Hey, why don't we head up to your dorm? It'd be nice to just take a load off, and I don't know, do you have a TV or anything?
Yeah, we can make something in the kitchen, and you can tell me what you were talking with Dr. Lila about.
Oh, she wasn't talking to Dr. Lila. She was talking to another professor.
Another professor.
Yeah. I honestly can't remember the professor's name at this moment.
If it's the only other one that we've met, it's Orpheus.
Orpheus.
If it's a different professor, I don't have it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. Orpheus, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to chat about things.
Sure. Let's go. And I'm sure, there's some horror stories of mom and dad back at home.
Oh, don't even get me started. You know how they were before you left. Mm-hmm. It's doubly worse.
It's gotten worse.
It has. Thanks for that.
Think it could. Well,
No,
they had
they
already
just-
expressed grievances about my going to college at all.
Well, I mean, I guess it. Oh, it's kind of proof of life.
Yeah, stands the test of time, right? It's been the way parents have behaved forever. So
Yep, yep. Now remind me, your parents don't know you're dead?
yes,
They do.
they do not know. You
They
are
do not know.
correct in
Okay, all
saying
right,
they
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's okay, yeah. Cool. So you head up to your dorm room and she follows you in, closes the door. How's your roommate?
Well, Dominic actually went missing a little while ago.
Missing?
Well, when I say went missing, I haven't seen him in a while. I was in the dorm. I was studying, or I was preparing a werewolf presentation for our humanities class, and yeah, he tried to convince me to go to a party or something. He was on his way out, but yeah, he left. But on his way out, it looked like, well, take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's 100% facts, but it looked like something, like a shadow, but not his shadow, was following him. And I just saw it for a brief moment. I don't know. I guess you see things differently when you know you're dead. So anyway, I haven't seen him since that evening.
Oh, well, I hope he's okay.
Me too. Yeah, wherever he's gone.
There's a tone in her voice that she seems to give off the idea that she may not know what happened to him, but she's not expecting a good outcome.
Okay.
So you have a kitchenette? Cool.
Yeah, we do. You want me to make you some tea real quick?
Actually, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure. And I'll go into the kitchen. I'll start making tea. So, weird feather, strike 1.
Oh.
Weird tone in her voice, strike 2. Like this is all to myself. I'm not saying this out loud.
Sure.
Is
Do
there
you-
is there
Sorry,
a
go ahead.
specific type of tea that you'd like?
No, it's all good. Do you have any sugar?
Yeah, I think so. We got some honey, some sugar, something around here. You like some in your tea?
Yeah, just bring the whole thing.
But okay.
Like you got one of those like Morton salt, or no, not Morton.
Yes.
Domino sugar.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah, just bring the whole thing out. I've developed a bit of a sweet tooth.
Okay. Weird. So I'm gonna warm up the water. I get a just, I don't know, some green tea, and the entire container of sugar. And once the water starts boiling, I'm gonna pour it in a mug, bring the sugar and the tea back to Emily.
Okay. You hand over the mug of tea, bag hanging over, and she accepts the box of sugar. And as she grasps the box, something falls from her palm, and there is a flash as whatever it is hits the ground. That impact causes it to ignite almost. And you are temporarily stunned, finding yourself as these sparks from this thing almost hold you in place. But they are dying quickly. She sets the tea down, takes the box of sugar, and begins drawing out a circle around you. You know, you wanted to talk about what I talked to the professor about? Well, guess you're about to find out firsthand.
Emily, what the hell is going on? I'll try to get that out amidst my being stunned.
Give me a lash out physically. That's volatile.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a 7.
Okay, with consequences. Deal harm, but you choke up momentarily. Or no, on a 7, you do them harm, but choose one of these. They learn something about your true nature and gain a string on you. I decide how bad the harm turns out, or you become your darkest self.
Let's do I become my darkest self.
Okay.
And for a ghost, I believe that is just turning invisible.
That's a good question. The ghost. You become invisible and unnoticeable. No one can see you, feel you, or hear your voice. You can still affect inanimate objects, but this is your only avenue of communication. You escape your darkest self when someone acknowledges your presence and demonstrates how much they want you around. Oh, this is interesting, because she's going to fulfill that first part.
Already.
So you lash out, trying to get at her before the circle closes. Because something about it seems like having being handcuffed. And just before, or put into a cell, before the door of the cell closes, you lash out and she recoils. Sparks having kind of peppered her cheek like new freckles. That burned. Yep, that burned. Anyway. And she finishes the circle. Says a word. And you just feel this thrum of power ignite and encase you in what feels like this bubble. There are only so many things that I've learned, and dealing with spirits is definitely a new one for me. Of course, I wouldn't be in this position if, things had gone smoothly the first time. I mean, it was hard enough, I had to make sure that I wasn't seen that you didn't see me? I planned that for weeks. And I thought it was over. But then you came back. You appeared on your doorstep, our doorstep, and my world just shattered. It's literally being haunted by your conscience. Every day. So, I had to figure out another way. And wouldn't it be my damn luck that you would go to a college specifically for the paranormal and the supernatural, where best to learn? Sadly, I'm still in high school. And I could not wait that long. I had hoped that we'd get a little bit more time together, you know, at least be able to say goodbye. But unfortunately, this is where we're at. She kneels down and opens her backpack and pulls out the feather. This was yours, you know. Yep. It was on your body. But when you came back, I had to, you know, reclaim it. Well, here it is again. And she sets it right outside the circle, being very careful not to break it. She pulls something else out of the bag. It's a very old-looking book. Very ornate, but very, very worn. And the iconography that you can see glinting in the gilding on the front reminds you of fairy tales. And she opens it up, leaves through the pages, holds it out as she takes a breath. And there's a surge of energy. And when she opens her eyes, they almost ignite with black flame. She begins to speak in this unknown language. Almost as if, it almost sounds like she's talking backwards. And the tonality is strange and warped. Within your little bubble, the wind seems to pick up, beginning to buffet you. And it becomes stronger and stronger as she speaks, becoming a veritable cyclone within the bubble. And you find yourself flying apart as her words begin to disintegrate your essence. The world around you fades, and all you can hear is her voice. And while you cannot understand her words, you can understand the meaning behind them. It is to be nothing, wishing you to be nothing. And to nothingness you descend. When all goes quiet, you find that you're so conscious. I would like you to take 1 harm, though. But you find yourself conscious, floating in that nothingness. The only sound that breaks this silence, this void, is the sound of a child giggling, running from side to side, past you. What would you like to do?
Can I reach out to try to come into physical contact with the source of the sound? The source of the giggling?
You reach for what movement that you can make out and catch nothing but shadow. At least on the first try. The second time you shift position somehow and reach out and grab something, and it's solid.
I'll pull myself to it, try to cling to it, being the only physical thing here.
Yeah, as you pull yourself to this solid thing, what is left of your senses, tactile at least, what you grabbed on is not warm by any means, and is fleshy.
And I can't see anything?
Not well, no. You can make out that whatever you're holding on to has a silhouette to it, as best as you can have a silhouette among shadow. There's like an outline to it.
Okay.
As best as you can tell, it is a body.
Okay. Is there a floor? Can I feel a floor, or am I just floating in nothingness?
You're floating in nothingness.
Okay. Well, there's nothing else here, so I'm gripping this body with everything I have, and trying to identify it. If I can, do I recognize the shape at all? Is it a person I've met before? Is there anything about this body that is recognizable?
Gaze into the abyss, if you will, please.
With dark, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, that's a 12 plus 1.
Nice.
So
Very nice. Maybe thinking a little out of the box. You encourage your spirit to shed a little light on the subject. To kind of create a ghost light. And the light struggles, but pushes back some of that shadow and shows you the face of Dominic. With that, you look up and you see the form of a child kneeling next to the body. You cannot, or even your ghost light cannot peel away the absolute shadow that covers this child. No, you brought the toy! And this creature lets out these whining, sobbing cries. The shadows begin to move over the both of you. And like tendrils and tentacles grabbing and pulling, and try as you might to tear them off yourself, they just grip back on until you are consumed once again by darkness, and then the shadow breaks and disappears, and you find yourself in a stairway over Damien's body, and face to face with Enmity.
Is that face to face on both sides?
No, actually, because with David in his darkest self, he is invisible and not visible. Or not audible. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
Is anyone else around?
No.
Enmity will hurry to the body and just kind of look it over for any obvious wounds, but also like anything in the pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Wallet, feathers, lint, anything.
There is a shadow, a living shadow that clings still to this corpse.
Oh.
You can see braids of almost like oozing shadow coming out of wounds over across the body.
Heard an oozing shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is not a pair of words I ever expected to go together.
Only in TTRPGs.
Yeah.
Damon,
Oozing shadow is a great description.
you can still see the child lingering just in the corner. And you get the sense that he's watching you. And grins play?
I'm gonna, with whatever willpower, whatever strength I have left, just try to fly in the opposite direction.
Okay. Enmity, you were saying?
Yeah, so it looks like whatever the shadow did is probably what killed Dominic. And if there's nothing else interesting, Enmity will look up to see the windows, particularly Damon's dorm, if his window is on this wall. See if like anyone's looking, or if anyone was, because he kind of fell out of nowhere, but I'm assuming it was more magic than just being tossed out the window, but just
right. No, Damon/Dominic's window is on that wall, but it is dark and whole, so nothing has gone through it.
Can I do a gaze into the abyss to... I don't know if this is... I want to find Emily still.
Sure.
But I feel like going up to Damon's and Dominic's room is not super helpful. So, but I don't know where else to go. Is there a gaze in the abyss type roll I could do for like a hint, or...
Sure,
otherwise,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you could, tell me what you're looking for specifically.
If there is some sort of way, maybe through Fey magic, that I can get around whatever this block is doing.
Okay.
Some way to track Emily. I'm in more of a feral state than normal, so maybe just a actual scent tracking. Otherwise, I'm not sure, because none of my specific abilities really apply.
Yeah. So you're trying to track Emily.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, please give me your dark roll.
All right. Well, 8 plus 1 is good for 9.
9. Perfect.
9. Yeah.
You know that whatever magic, whatever power is keeping you from contacting the Fey realm is only that. You can still use localized magic. So, let's say you summon a spy.
Can it be like a moth?
A moth. Okay.
One of the moths that disguises itself as a butterfly, specifically.
Ooh.
So
okay.
Its wings look like a monarch, but it's all dull and boring when it lands. Like
okay.
On Enmity's finger.
I love that. That's fantastic. So you summon, you put out just a little bit of energy, and this moth, this deceiver moth, lands on your finger. You whisper your intention to it, and it flutters off as quickly as possible.
You're like Gandalf.
Yeah, call the eagles. And it will get you. It will go seek her, but it might take some time.
All right. Enmity will vacate this murder scene as stealthily as possible.
Okay, so you're leaving Dominic's body there?
Not even a second glance.
All right. Mika, you had finished burying Rhapsody, and Bobby says he's going to cover the grave well enough that nobody's going to find it. And then he's got to, because it's getting night, he's got to get out and transform.
Okay.
So
yeah.
he's gonna head out into the woods, out to the island.
And Mika will watch him go. And her mind is gonna sort of flip back to... Now, this is something that I had meant to ask Juicy, but, like, because I don't know, how public has Bobby been about Jonathan? Has he?
I don't think they've been very public that I know of.
Okay.
There was a fairly obvious public moment, but it's only obvious in retrospect when he hunted him down and bit him.
That's right.
Kind of telling, but not necessarily before you realize.
Sure.
That's true. And then
Enmity gets it in retrospect, but Amity did not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember I didn't get a chance to rewatch all the way to the end, but I know there was a moment where Jonathan was mentioned, and that it was mentioned that Emily visited
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Okay. So, especially after our visits previously, Mika may not necessarily understand the scope of what's going on between Bobby and Jonathan, but the fact that it was mentioned that Emily has gone to visit Jonathan might make that the next place that Mika goes. Because Mika is worried about what Emily is up to, especially since she sensed that there were a lot darker of intentions coming from Emily in regards to her use of Master Grimm's power.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to figure out what her goals are and what's really happened to Damon if she can.
Okay. So you two are seeking out Emily.
Yes. And she's going to start by going to Jonathan's dorm.
The hunt for Red Emily. Okay. In that case, Mika, you will arrive just as Enmity has released their little spy. And you'll find Enmity outside the dorm.
Okay. Mika, not necessarily realizing that Enmity is no longer Amity, is gonna kind of pause.
Leather jacket, lots of buckles. Very weird.
Yeah. This is a very weird look for Amity, and she's very taken off guard as she kind of looks and is like, Amity?
Shh.
What?
I'm listening.
Listening for what?
Do we have a sense of where to go?
Not yet.
Enmity listens for probably another 20 solid seconds before saying, "I'm listening for Emily."
Well, last I was told she was in Jonathan's dorm, but that was a while ago.
It makes sense. She's somewhere around here. I suppose that's as good a place as any. Enmity will look to you for the first time and does look very different. There are a few physical changes, nothing drastic, but more masculine leaning, and a much harsher look in their eyes. But there's also sort of like a twinkle, and when he looks at you, he winks and starts to walk into the dorm.
Amity, what's going on? What's with the new look?
Only new to you, love. Come on. We don't have much time.
Okay. Mika is still processing the weirdness that is
That is enmity.
that is enmity. Especially since she has never in her life been called love by anyone. But we'll do as they say and follow.
Okay. Damon, you ran off. Where did you run to? How far? And are you coming back or...
The first place that came to mind for Damon that would be remotely safe is the lake. Or was it a lake? It was some body of water that we first saw Dr. Lila and another professor, I think Orpheus, near a body.
Mhm.
That's the first place that enters Damon's mind. So when he flies out of the stairwell, he's immediately trying to orient himself to just get off of campus, find a place where he can be alone.
Okay. You flit through the trees. A mere gust of wind passing the branches and falling leaves. And you find yourself settled over the place where that first body had been found. The body, though, has long since been gone. But there's this residue, this trace of deeper shadow where the body had lain. It's like a rash on the world that is slowly healing.
Slowly healing.
Yeah, it's not as potent as it was. Or might have
Okay.
been if you had gotten a closer look.
Can I gaze into the abyss at these dwindling shadows, see if it's the same sort of feeling as that the dark tentacles that consumed me in that strange void?
Sure, yeah. Roll your dark.
Okay. That is a 10-11.
Wow. It is one and the same.
One and the same. Okay. Is there any way that I can harvest some of it
Ooh.
to take with me, or is it like
Interesting.
caustic?
For you, you reach out and touch it, and while it tingles, it sits on your fingers like honey almost. Sticky and yeah.
Okay, then I will try to I guess preserve it on my fingers in my hand. Just take it with me,
Okay.
and I will sit by the lake pondering my dark ooze.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Enmity and Mika, you enter into the dorm. You're going to Jonathan's dorm?
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. Your moth will flutter back and provide confirmation that Emily was that way.
She is here.
Okay. How do we want to approach this?
Let's start with knocking, I assume.
Yeah. I guess so.
Enmity will, yeah, all right, yeah. Enmity will, step close to Mika when Mika, stops to ask, and kind of doing that sultry whisper thing. And then, with, trying to turn someone on, they're gonna try to kiss you. Yeah, with hot and
I'm sorry, you're trying to turn on Mika?
to let me kiss her, yeah. Well, let Enmity kiss her, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Assuming that, yeah, that is something that Mika is interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, what's your
Just
hot roll?
to turn them on. Okay, so I have Unashamed now as one of my abilities, so I get to add 3, but you get a string on me.
You add 3, but Mika gets a string gun. Woo!
So that gives me a +5.
All right.
9 + 5 for 14.
There's something smoldering and just attractive about Enmity in this moment, and there's definitely that if we don't come out of this alive look.
Got it. Mika is... When MD leans in to kiss her, there's this moment of complete shock. It's already been weird enough that Amity has been acting she's still thinking in the mind of this is Amity, and this is a very different from the Amity that she's come to know over these past few days that they've been working on this project together and talking and bonding. And while there is that attraction there, and she would lean into the kiss for a moment, there's that nagging in the back of her head of all the circumstances that come to be, and she would push on Enmity's chest just a little to back them up and say, okay, we will discuss that later. Not the time or place. We need to figure this out.
Enmity is just smiling, says, sure. And then we'll go up to the door and knock loudly.
Okay. Before your fist hits the door, it opens as Emily has opened the door, is still looking into the room, but turns and
Speak of the devil, and she shall appear.
Oh, somebody knows the whole thing. Great. Can I help you with something?
I believe that you can. A few things, in fact. Enmity is going to step in to the room.
It's nice to ask permission to enter.
I'm sure it is for mortals. Just looking around, for Jonathan, or like the state of things.
Sure. Jonathan is in bed. And is, for all perspectives, asleep.
Enmity will look around pretty pointedly and then look at Jonathan and back to Emily and left him worn out, did you?
If you must know, I just came to check on him.
Is that all you were doing?
Yes. I just changed his bandages.
Oh, such a concerned friend you are. Concerned sister, too, flying all the way out here. Check up on your friends and brother.
That's me. Now, can you, vacate? He's gonna wake up. He needs his rest.
You were on your way out anyway. Why don't we take a walk?
Her eyes narrow as she scrutinizes you.
And as Mika picks up on the fact that she's kind of becoming suspicious of Enmity, she's going to say, I actually kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit. I couldn't help but notice, we might have some similar interests.
Something I've been curious about, too.
I mean, girls gotta have a hobby. What interests are you talking about?
I think you know very well who I'm talking about. And Mika would, in that moment, very subtly, pull out her notebook that connects her to Master Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone, at least from what he's told me, has a different tool. I don't know how you communicate with him, but I haven't really had anyone else who does. And I would love to know more about how you found him.
Is this really something you want to talk about right here, right now, with that one?
Well, that one already knows. But you're right, it's a little out in the open, hence the walk.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. And Mika will start to lead the way out of the dorm room, sort of glancing at Enmity for a moment just to see if there's any more, almost doing a gaze into the abyss to see if not only if she can pick up on whether or not there was any more going on with Jonathan and the fact that he was just asleep in his bed, but what on earth is going on there after everything that's happened within the past couple minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a gaze into the abyss.
Okay, so that's 7 plus what's my dark? +1, so 8.
Taking a glance into the room before the door closes, she is honest in saying that she had changed out the bandages because they look fresh.
Mm-hmm.
The only strange thing that you take notice of is what looks like glitter on his shoes.
Okay. She makes a mental note of the glitter, because that's really strange. And she has no idea where that would come from, especially since Jonathan should not be leaving his room with wounds like that. Or at least she would think. And
You'd think, you know.
And with that, she would turn to Emily and be like, he was hurt pretty bad. Has he been put on bed rest, or?
The hard head. Always gotta get up and do things himself. I've made him lay down and get some rest.
Okay.
Give him some tea, if you must know.
Well, that's good. I mean, hopefully he doesn't try to overwork himself too much.
I will. Well, I'm gonna be leaving soon, so.
Oh, so soon.
Yeah, we're, you know, my visit's done. I've got a flight out soon, so.
Oh. And how did you find Master Grimm being so far away?
Oh, you know, he just finds people.
Well, I suppose that's true, but I did have to do a lot of seeking to find him, so I was curious where.
Oh, back home, you know, it's kind of a ask and you shall receive kind of thing.
And what did you ask for?
A life not mundane.
Makes Enmity laugh.
That one gets it.
Oh, you have no idea.
You know, I grew up with Damon, and I just fell in love with all those old fairy tales. Now, granted, like the Disney versions, you know, the sweet happy ending ones, the get your prince and grow up in a castle and all that other stuff. Then I learned the true fairy tales, like the Grimm's brothers fairy tales, the dark ones, the violent ones. Right?
There isn't a Fae story that's not violent.
Or has some moral or ethical lesson, no matter how dated. But the allure of that kind of world was potent. I used to color all the time, and while they were supposed to be happy, pretty pages, I made them what they were supposed to be.
Real?
Yes. And then they became real. And that's when the master reached out for the first time, animating my drawings. It was special. We had something special. It was nice. Though,
Isn't it always at first?
what's that?
Isn't it always nice at first?
Yes, it is. And she looks very pointedly at Mika. Yeah. We had something special. But who am I to hog all the fun?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem Master Grimm wants to expand the ranks a bit. But it'll be nice to have some other people who understand.
Sure will. Sister.
We could call it that, yeah.
Yeah. A sorority, if you will.
Well, it'll be on the list to start right after the, I'm starting a book club to help
Oh, wonderful.
bring him some people.
Oh, he'll love that.
He did say it was an interesting idea.
I hope it's successful, because I would love to join when I come to college.
Oh, you're gonna come here?
I've been thinking about it. And if there's already a chapter set up here, may as well be a legacy.
Well, I'll do my best to make sure that there is one.
Wonderful.
Now, and at this point, I think Mika is kind of in this weird place where she doesn't quite know how she wants to move forward, because she's at this point worried about the I'm leaving soon has kind of set off a red flag, especially since they were talking about how weird it was that Damon sent those texts.
Yeah.
Right after Emily was being very dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
And though she was angry about them, the point that everyone else brought up that it might not be Damon is a fair point to her.
Mm-hmm.
But she wants to be sure that it couldn't have been him.
Oh, okay.
So what she kind of wants to do is she kind of stands for a moment and ponders and kind of hopes that Enmity will understand what she's trying to do as she kind of looks at Enmity and is like, hey, as I don't know where they've been walking. I would assume that they've kind of left the dorm and would go back towards the woods a little bit.
Sure.
Mika would look at Enmity and say, hey, I'm gonna catch up with you later. Do you maybe wanna swing back and make sure that the rest of our group has all their notes for the project? Because we do have to present that soon.
Enmity kind of laughs at the project. No, I don't care about that. But if you need some alone time, I'm not opposed to that. I do have one question, though, for our dear new friend Emily. You mentioned growing up with Damon. While doing this nonchalantly, Enmity is going to pull out their phone. And he says it must have been hard when he was suddenly not there. And then even more confusing when he came back from the dead. Must have been quite a turbulent turbulent time, emotional time is probably more what Enmity said. And then while saying that, hovering, Enmity is going to dial Damon's phone number and then say the bit about Damon being dead and coming back, and then studying Emily's face, and then just seeing if phone ring.
Oh, that's yeah. That's clever. I'll give you that. What? Boldest choice. Well, I don't know if it's the boldest. It's definitely
Keep it feral is the rule.
The trope, anyway.
Yeah.
Her bag begins to ring. She looks down at it, lifts to look you dead, Enmity. Clever Faye.
Always.
And she's gonna bolt.
All right. Not quite what I was expecting. Sorry, Emma, for ruining your plan.
That is okay. This is a much better plan.
Short plan. Yeah. Can I lash out to try and trip her before she gets too far, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Volatile is not me. Ooh, 6 minus 1 for 5.
Oh no. She is well out of reach before you can take the swing. Sprinting across the campus lawns as fast as she can.
Didn't take her for a runner. And then we'll chase after.
Mika will also go after.
All right. Damon, are you still pondering nothing's mysteries by the lakeside?
So I've been pondering for a little bit, but the realization of who killed me comes back, and it's like there's with whatever I can feel in my incorporeal sort of essence, it's just a flame. It's just a little fire, a little burning pillar of rage that like Damon is not used to. Damon doesn't get angry at a lot, and so it's just it is a very pure form of anger that starts to bubble up inside him, and sort of, rubbing the darkness into my fingers. I lift off and I take off back towards the campus.
Okay. You break the tree line to find your two friends chasing after your sister.
Is there any building or something in the way? Because I can like, I'm essentially a poltergeist, right? I can influence objects.
Yeah.
Can I try to like hurl a trash can or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Give me a lash out physically.
Okay. Lash out physically. It's volatile,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay, that is a 9 minus 1, 8.
Okay. In that case, you do the harm, but but choose one. They learn something about your true nature. I decide how bad the harm turns out, or you become your darker self, which you're already your darker self, so that one's off the list.
You decide how bad the harm is.
Okay. So you chuck the trash can with an ounce of your rage, your ghostly rage, and she ducks it, but it clips her enough to send her stumbling, slowing her down some, but the chase is still on. Enmity, Mika, you said you're running after. Will you give me run? Both of you.
That's...
8.
Is that volatile?
4 for me.
4, ooh.
Yeah, volatile.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So
Gotta
that's
do more
6
flip.
plus 2 is 8.
Okay. You're going to catch up, but you're going to run into something worse, cause a big scene, or leave something behind.
Let's go with leave something behind. Mika's desperate at this point. She wants answers. She'd be a little careless in her pursuit.
In your pursuit, you drop your notebook.
Oh no. That's not gonna come back to bite me later.
And it tumbles away into the dark grass. Enmity, you are not as spry in your darkest self. So you find yourself trailing behind as Mika catches up, and I know, are you going for the tackle, Mika?
Going for the full tackle, yeah.
Okay. So you see the trash can like lift of its own accord and flick itself at her, sending her stumbling, and you use that opportunity to whether or not you were on track in high school, I don't know. But you get that burst of speed and launch yourself, tackling Emily to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Either way, whether she was in track in high school or not, she's going full criminal justice major. Like, like one of those cop show moments, like FBI freeze, kind of like pursuit of a criminal kind of deal, and she's like doing the tackle, like pinning her to the ground, like, and the first thing she's gonna do when she catches her breath, where is Damon?
She fumbles and jams her hand into her bag, trying to hold you off for a moment, but she responds anyway. Gone!
What do you mean he's gone?
He is nothing! And she will spin around, like worm her way around that black flame igniting in her eyes as she presses her hand to your chest and it begins to burn. Take 1 harm.
Ow. I think at that point, Mika would scream out at the searing pain, but also in this sort of... So, like, she's grown up for so long without a family, and the idea, as it's kind of clicking in her head, that she had a brother and would want to harm him in any way is gonna hit a sore spot for her.
Sure.
She's gonna lash out physically as well.
Okay.
And essentially, she's never used her powers really in this way. I think the most she's ever done is try to scare someone off before it's come to physical violence when it comes to asking Master Grimm for help, but she now wants to hurt. And she is going to call upon her powers from Master Grimm and be like, I'm not turning the other cheek this time. Help me.
What moves do you have?
So let me look, because
like bargains and otherwise?
yeah, so the 2 bargains I took were numbing it out. You can give the dark power a string in order to remove a condition or up to 2 harm.
Ooh. So that's an option.
That is an option. Or uncanny voices, which I did use the last time to try and find out about Emily, but that's more like finding out of realizing a secret.
Sure,
it's not
sure.
related to physical
Yeah.
to physical
So
attacks
you're lashing out physically. So what is how are you channeling your hurt?
I think in that moment, Mika is channeling her hurt by I think she's thinking about, like, the fairy tales kind of pop up in her mind as she calls out to Master Grimm. And where Emily was saying that she got fascinated by all the violent ones, Mika still remembers, like, the little fairy tales that she got told when she was a kid. So she remembers, like, the Cinderella of like all the movies and the kid books that she read, and she thinks back to, like, the 3 Little Pigs fairy tale.
Okay.
And thinks about how the 3rd pig built up the house with bricks. And I feel like in that moment, like, she would almost apparate a brick. Not like whether it would actually be made of brick or not, like a brick.
Yeah.
Would be entirely up to you, but in some way would apparate some sort of weapon to fight, like to fight back with.
Okay.
Thinking of this is her moment to sort of knock back the big bad wolf in this scenario.
Sure. Have you already rolled? If you have not, go ahead.
That's volatile, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, that's 10 plus 2, 12.
Even without your book, because I was going to make that like a condition for you using your abilities, but with a roll like that, we're going with it. Actually, I've got one better.
Okay.
Realizing you don't have your book, its absence is palpable to you. You put your hand into her bag onto the book that she's clutching onto and channel the same power up into a brick that forms out of fiery shadow. You bring it down, cracking it across her face, cutting open her cheek. Probably has to spit out a tooth or two. Damon, you were speeding ahead, throwing stuff in their path, and have now witnessed Mika just brick stomp your sister.
At this point, I'm conflicted with like how angry I am with Emily and seeing Mika just decimate her face with a fire brick. So
fire bricks.
Get fire bricked.
That's gonna be the name of the episode. Get fire bricked.
Nice.
I think in this moment, I'm going to fly up behind Mika and try to grab onto like her clothing or her backpack or whatever I can, and try to pull her off of Emily, if I can.
Okay, lash out physically, if you will, please.
Okay. That's a 6 minus 1. That's 5.
Ooh. Mika, as you set to swing again, assuming that's your intent, something grabs at your arm. It is in no way strong enough to hold you back, but you definitely felt fingers wrapping around your arm, trying to heft you off of Emily. Enmity, you reach the fray. What would you like to do?
Would I have noticed the book fall?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Then I get there and it seems like Mika has the situation in control, or is Emily still kind of?
Emily's still fighting.
All right, then I'm gonna punt her head.
All right.
We're being so brutal, guys.
Lash out physically, please.
I gotta reroll. Ooh, 10. Minus 1 for 9.
All right. Well, that does put it into the gray area. You will do the harm, but you get to choose one. Either I choose how the harm turns out, she learned something about your true nature, or you become you're already your darkest self, so we don't need to go into that.
Everybody's in their darkest self.
Except Mika, so far.
Except Mika.
Though, I don't know, with that, maybe Mika should be in her darkest self right now.
Honestly, she might be after the fact. Partially because of how her darkest self is worded.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, okay. All right. So what you got, Emily?
I think I'm leaning towards learn something about true nature, but I'm not sure what would be interesting in this scenario. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what Emily would learn that would make the story more interesting. So I think we'll go with you can decide if I kick her head off.
Oh, decide how much the harm.
MC
turns out.
decides how much harm. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm open to suggestions for the other way, because I wouldn't mind her gaining a string on me, and but I'm not sure what. The only thing that comes to mind right now is just learning a bit of fierceness about the nature of Fae, which is kind of boring. So
I've got something. If you're open
yeah,
to it.
I'm all ears.
Even the Fae have to live by certain rules. One of those rules is a command given thrice. And I think that's what she's going to learn about you.
I've got one that you just inspired in me.
Okay. All right.
That I think just by the situation, Mika has been burned, and when Enmity sees that, there's a little bit of a freak out, and so that's what I think will propel the viciousness of the attack more than anything, and maybe Emily picked up on that.
Oh, the fire of the brick and
yeah,
stuff?
that's how
Yeah.
Mika was hurt, but then so
Yeah, I took the fire hand to the chest before.
So Emily would
I lashed out.
learn that Enmity cares for Mika. That might be a good one.
Okay.
And gain a string on me.
All right, so she'll take the harm. And she yanks away the book, hoping to keep it from your grasp, Mika. And redoubles her doubles down on her commitment to either escaping this scenario or destroying you utterly. And her hand lashes out and wraps around your throat, Mika, and she, summoning that power, she calls to Master Grimm for aid. You can just feel their bond pulsing between them as she lifts you up more than her small frame would have ever truly allowed, and her grasp around your neck tightens, and there's small poppings as it feels like your neck is about to snap. Do take one more harm, and she looks at Enmity with those fiery eyes and says, "Stay back or she dies."
Enmity just kind of
And
pulls
she
her
will
hands
pull
up.
that string quite immediately.
for sure, yeah. I will capitulate. And they we just wanted a conversation anyway. You're the one that ran.
You will let me leave.
You set her down, you get to walk away. That's a deal.
Is that a fey deal?
Everything is a fey deal for me.
If I set her down, you let me leave.
If she's unharmed.
Safe.
She's safe. You're safe.
Mika, are you going to act in this? Damon, what are you doing?
I think
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
you go first, Damon.
I didn't have anything in mind. So
Okay.
you go ahead.
Well, I guess it kind of hinges on the question whether I do it before or after. But she felt that hand touch. And Mika can really only... Emma is trying to decide whether or not she would put that piece together that it could possibly be Damon.
Oh, okay.
That the hand...
You can give me a gaze into the abyss.
I'm gonna do that because
Okay.
that's gonna determine whether or not she would think that it could possibly be Damon.
Yep, let's leave it up to the dice to decide.
Mm-hmm. So that's a dark, correct?
Yes.
Oh. I don't think that's gonna be enough for a partial. That's a 6. No! I was one away.
No, you are caught up in your own survival to give any amount of brain power toward figuring out what that feeling was.
Okay.
Good experience.
Yep.
Yeah, I just marked the experience, but the one time that they decide to roll bad, Mika at that point is going to be looking at Enmity then. There's no one else around to really like save this for them. She's shaking her head. Like, don't let this bitch go. Like in her mind, she has essentially confirmed that she has killed their friend. That is not someone that,
Not in so many
regardless
words,
of
but yeah.
killed their friend again. He was already dead to begin with, but
Killed again.
this is not something forgivable for her.
Sure.
Regardless of the position that she's in, she's thinking that she can find some sort of way out of this. But they can't let her go. So she's just looking at Enmity and like shaking her head as she's trying to claw Emily's hands away from her throat.
Sure. Damon.
So, prior to this, Damon has had, or I have had, no exposure to the idea that that Mika or anybody has a connection to like it's some demon, devil, like whatever, through a book. Can I gaze into the abyss in this moment, make the connection that Emily's power is coming from her book? Because
Yes, you
she's
can.
clutching it so tightly. Okay. That is a 9.
Ooh, almost a success. Like full success. you're not sure who Master Grimm is or where this power is coming from. But your experience, both in her betrayal, her betrayal of you, and in this moment, that book seems to be a key to whatever power she is exerting.
And I try to wrench it from her hands.
You can. Give me a lash out physically.
Okay. That's a 5.
Oh.
Damn it. Damn.
Her head snaps back toward where, like she's holding the book out kind of like behind her, away from the other two, and she feels a tug on it, so her head like whips back to see who was pulling at it. Doesn't see anything there. She turns back to Enmity.
He was definitely moved a little bit closer, but will pull back once Emily turns back.
I accept.
Truth till sunrise.
And she will lower Mika to just barely standing on your feet, and then gives a gentle, not so gentle shove, sending Mika into enmity.
Grab her in a tight hold.
Before she takes off.
And Mika takes a moment, catches her breath, and is watching, and is like the one thing that she sort of chokes out, barely able to speak with how much like her breath was cut off. But she kind of just wheezes out in that moment. Why would you let her go? Like coughing a little. I don't want to cough into the mic, but coughing a little as she's trying to regain her breath.
The situation was not tenable. We'll find our moment. Still, like, holding on to Mika.
If we can still find her.
Oh, I'm sure we'll find her. Whatever she said about leaving, things aren't done here yet.
Amity, she said Damon's gone.
Kind of frowns when you say Amity, but then... Yes, but I don't think I believed her.
What do you mean?
I think she wants it to be true. But just because someone wants it to be true doesn't mean it is.
So, where would he be?
Where else do ghosts go? They haunt the ones they care about.
So we have to figure out who else Damon cared about.
I imagine that he's probably not too far away from Emily at the moment. If he is indeed still around. Enmity will try to check over Mika's burns to make sure it's not, like, crazy bad.
Damon. Your sister is rabbiting. What are you doing? Overhearing your friends talking about you, wondering where you are.
I'm caught for a minute. My first instinct was to start chasing after Emily, but hearing them talk about me that way sort of anchors me in place. And I, though I want to keep chasing after Emily, I can't move. There's a piece of me that needs to stay and hear what they have to say. And so I turn around and I make my way over towards Enmity. And as gently as I can, so as not to try to startle, I start to like pick at their sleeve, sort of like a child tugging on somebody's sleeve.
Feel that? That's weird.
What happened?
Nothing. We should get you. She kind of loses her train of thought. Kind of like looking around now. If I didn't know better, I would feel like Damon was pranking us right now. But it doesn't seem the right moment.
What do you mean?
Feeling things.
He doesn't really seem the pranking type.
No. Kitty.
Don't worry about me. If Damon's somewhere else, we need to find him.
Agree. But for now, we both need to rest.
And you see that fire in Mika's eyes return for a moment as she almost, like, again, sort of steps away from Enmity. You can go rest. I'm not sleeping. If that were me, I would want to be found.
Enmity just looks at you for a while. Okay. Let's find him then.
Okay. We also need to find my book, because it's gone.
Do you realize that yet?
Yeah.
Yes, I realized it during the fight.
Right. Well, I didn't see it. We can do a quick look, but we should probably find Bobby. Damon could be with him.
It's true.
Damon, that may be an opportunity, overhearing that Mika has lost her book.
Well, that's what I'm gonna do. Just sort of retracing the path that we pursued Emily on. I'm gonna start searching in the grass, searching the surroundings to see if I can find a book that looks similar to what Emily had. I don't necessarily know what Mika's book looked
Right.
like, but I'm guessing it probably looks something
Well,
like
among all the notebooks and books that tend to lay out in the yards, you do find a well-worn notebook laying in the grass, some ways off the path.
Okay, I'm gonna pick it up, and
When you do, there's an odd feeling. A almost resonance between the book and the stuff on your hand.
I'm gonna hold the book, and just sort of feel out if that resonance, whatever the connection is between those two, is harmful. If it's gonna start harming me.
It doesn't hurt. It just, there's a sympathetic energy that passes between them.
Okay. And
it's kind of like connect or like touching both sides of a battery, or like the 9-volt batteries, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Pressing it to your tongue a little bit.
Yeah.
Connecting the circuit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Noting that, I'll put it in my other hand. So I imagine that's not very comfortable, and I'll make my way back over to Enmity and Mika.
Okay. Mika, your book floats in out of nowhere.
That's a hell of a thing.
Sorry, what'd you say?
That's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, and I have to roll again if Mika would connect the dots, because Emma wants to, but I don't know if Mika would. Gaze into the abyss is dark, correct?
Yes.
That's a 7. 6 plus 1, 7. So that's a partial success at least.
When you... I assume you take the book, or...
Yes.
Okay.
She would.
As you take the book, you sense a presence. A familiar presence. A friendly presence. That does not come from the book.
I think in that moment, Mika would look in front of her and just kind of... Damon? Damon, are you here? Please tell me you're here, because...
Everything in my essence is screaming yes.
Because what?
Because I would really like you to not actually be gone.
Think that satisfies your darkest self?
I think so, yes.
With your words, your expression of his acceptance and in your need of him in your life, however, you know, platonic or otherwise, they kind of wash over you, Damon, and peel away your incorporality, like dry skin, and it just blows away, leaving you visible and audible once more.
And I think in that moment, as Damon appears, Mika is just going to envelop him in a hug.
Oh.
Damon coming back to terms with his, you know, his body, skin, that he can be in the world again, accepts the hug, and yeah, and starts crying.
Seems like you've had as busy a few days as we have had.
I've missed you guys. I've missed you guys a lot.
Well, it's good to have you back, because we have a few questions about your sister.
As
yeah,
do I.
I'm sorry you saw that.
It was conflicting, I'll admit. But I didn't even know that side of her.
Well, I don't think anyone would have suspected until, well,
I certainly didn't.
We should move this to a dorm. There's another
Agreed.
body tonight on the lawn, so there was a place will be around soon.
wait,
You
you
guys,
found another body?
I found your roommate, Damon. He was not looking well for this world.
Where?
Right outside your dorm.
That's, Let's go somewhere else. I can't be near that or near my dorm.
We can go to mine.
That sounds wonderful.
Very good. And I think that is the perfect place to stop for tonight. That was so intense. That was amazing. A great return for Damon.
Yeah, that worked out
As
great.
traumatic as it should have been.
Oh my god.
That was a fun one. Juicy's gonna be pissed.
We missed you, Juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we absolutely
Never leave us
miss
again.
Miss Abby. She will be back next week, and we'll pick up the story from here. And you know, I really look forward to what she does with all of this.
Here's the bag.
Yeah. Now I will say that many of these ideas came straight from her. So you know, I just filled in the blanks.
Well, it was great to be able to play this week. I was not excited about taking more time off, so thanks for jumping in and jamming.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Winter.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. And yeah, we are coming down to the last quarter of this show. I think we are looking for a November finale. So that's when we'll have the culmination of this whole story. So and I have no doubt that Abby and all of you are just going to really bring it and have this climactic, beautiful ending that I'm really excited to be a part of. But yeah, thank you to our audience for sticking with us tonight and enjoying this very intense and action-packed episode. I have been your Mistress of Ceremonies stand-in, Mistress Winter. You can find me at gmistresswinter on Blue Sky, Instagram, and X. I am a writer, graphic designer, aspiring voice actress, and all-around TTRPG hobbyist. Yeah, we've got lots of things coming. We still have our Monday night Facet, which is a Pathfinder 2nd Edition TTRPG actual play. We are coming back from a 2-week break, so please join us on Monday for the next exciting episode. Tuesday, we have part 3 of our 3-part special event. We are playing in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. and we are highlighting a new system called Sagas that our dear Dennis, OKSDM, developed. So it's been a lot of fun and really exciting, and I hope you'll join us for that. And then again, we are, for Ravenwood, we are coming back every week now. So no more having to wait 2 weeks to come back to Ravenwood. We will be back next Thursday for episode 9. Beyond that, I am working with Emma and the Tabletop Tailspinners Network to produce a new Monster Hearts podcast called All Our Faults. And that will be premiering here in October. So more information to come about that. Keep an eye out. It's going to be fantastic. We recorded our second full session just yesterday, and it was so dramatic, so much drama. I love it.
You guys aren't going to want to miss that one.
It's going to be fantastic. So yeah, that's everything that's going on with me. How about you, Emma?
Well, now that you mentioned it, Tabletop Tailspinners is up to quite a bit, as we are currently releasing 2 podcasts. Our long-form D&D 5e actual play podcast, Chronicles of Kriath, just wrapped up its 3rd arc. So we have 58 episodes out. So if you're the type of person that likes to binge, there's plenty of content there for you. And we will be coming out with the Q&A episode not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, I believe, to talk a little bit about that 3rd arc and all of the interesting things that all the cast was thinking as it was happening. We also just started releasing a D&D 5e one-shot podcast called Improv Madness, which I also DM. And I DM both these campaigns. So if you want to see me in a different, in the DM seat instead of the player's seat, then definitely check those out. Only for Improv Madness, everything is made up on the spot. So there is zero prep for me as a DM, and the players come in not knowing what they're playing until they sit down and roll up the character on a table. It's super fun. And there are a lot of chaotic characters that are made from it. So definitely tune in for that one. We're releasing the character creation episode of the second one-shot of that season next Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. We also have, as we said before, the Monster Hearts podcast on the back burner, as well as a couple other different systems such as 10 Candles, and we may have some other fun things like Call of Cthulhu and Masks coming up soon. So keep an eye out for those fun things. We can't wait to branch into other systems and start showing off some of the fun other TTRPGs that are out there aside from Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
But aside from that, you can just find me here every Thursday.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Emma. And do check out the Tabletop Tailspinners Network offerings. Links will be in the chat. All right. How about you, Stouffer?
I'm Stouffer. I played Enmity, and as far as socials go, I don't have anything fun or exciting going on anything like that. So just find me in Mistress Winter's Discord if you got questions.
All right. Thank you so much. And last but absolutely not least, the star of today's show, Alex.
What a wonderful outroduction. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Alex. I'm playing Damon Fullerton, our ghost, and I can be found in Mistress Winter's Discord.
Wonderful. So yeah, come join our Discord. Be a part of our awesome little growing community. And hopefully we'll see you again next Thursday. So until then, I hope everybody has a great weekend, a great week, and may the dice roll ever in your favor. Have a good night.